Well, good afternoon, everyone. One question. Are we going to win? No, I don't think they heard you in Downing Street. The noise of clucking coming from Downing Street is quite loud of late. Are we going to win? Our country needs us. It's not so much a political choice now. I think it's a moral choice. A few weeks ago, no doubt you all saw the headlines in the national newspapers that government advice was to withdraw healthcare from elderly patients. Those very people who'd paid into the pot all of their lives were told by their own government they don't deserve it. I don't know about you, but that boils my blood. That boils my blood, and if anything, it means we've got to work harder and we've got to hit and knock on more doors, because what we do now carries on through May the 22nd, right towards May 2015, where we get our first MPs elected to Westminster. But we'll take one election at a time, shall we? Because this election is about our issues. Those issues we have been talking about for so long, when they wouldn't listen to us. Then they ignored us. Then they started to sound like us. And the next thing, they're calling us names and wanting to copy us. And they can't get their story straight, can they? Can they? Immigration is the issue that the political class is always playing catch-up on. It is the number one issue, on the doors and in the streets. And Dave, sorry, but you're rumbled. Your statistics have come back to haunt you. Wasn't yesterday great? Because it shows that we are right. You cannot control immigration whilst being a member of the European Union. But we want a sensible immigration system. You know, immigration should be like eating. What and how much? You wouldn't starve yourself and you wouldn't overeat. We want good immigration, not mass immigration, don't we? We want an immigration system where you pay into the pot before you get out of the pot. We are in this ridiculous system where our national health service is now an international health service. No, no, no. We don't hear that anymore, do we? But there's a great issue of jobs now. On the 1st of January, we opened our doors, as we know, to Romania and Bulgaria. But I checked the European Job Mobility Portal. This is where Job Centre Plus advertise all of the jobs in this country across the whole EU. We advertised on the 1st of January 1.3 million British jobs to the whole EU. And those EU migrants under European Union schemes can get grants to get interviews in this country and to resettle here. But if you're going from Torquay to Telford, what do you think you get? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Do you want to guess how many jobs Bulgaria was offering on 1st of January? Close. 4. 4. To put our number into perspective, of those 1.3 million jobs, that came as a total of 1.9 million across the whole European Union. We have 1 million young people unemployed in this country, many of whom went through Christmas and New Year without a job and with very few prospects. How do you think they felt, knowing that their government, their public servants, were advertising British jobs to unemployed EU workers? Those very workers have been made unemployed because the European Commission is addicted to the European single currency. How do you think that felt? And a few weeks after that, the Prince's Trust found that many, hundreds of thousands of young people have long-term mental health problems associated with unemployment. Again, I think this is a moral issue for us, because it cannot be right. It cannot be right. And how can a politician stand by and have 1 million young people unemployed and yet say there's a recovery? Their priorities are all wrong. Immigration transcends every issue, doesn't it? We are facing an incredible school place shortage. The NHS suffers a cost of £2 billion a year through health tourism. And we have a housing crisis. Rather than sort our borders, the coalition want to concrete over your green spaces. That's the Tory Developers Charter for you. But it goes wider than that. Let's look at energy. Let's look at energy, another place of EU competence. In 2015, we will shut down the power stations that provide us with a third of our energy. No amount of windmills are going to be able to compensate for the lack of energy, will they? But yet, what do? They go along with the Climate Change Act, which costs this economy £18 billion a year. That's over £500 per household. Staggering in that context, isn't it? It's not a debate about climate change. It's a debate about putting this country first. Even if we were to shut down everything, even if we were to turn the lights off and not produce a single thing, that wouldn't stop China and India building new coal-fired power stations, would it? We have to put this country first. And it was amazing yesterday seeing Angela Merkel here. I thought first guess she was coming over to flog us a few cars. Because you see, the European Union exports 800,000 more cars to this country than we export to them. 400,000 of those cars are from Germany. So do you think that German car producers are going to want to get into a trade war with the biggest market of the European Union? Of course they are not. And we hear from critics, and it's not often I talk about fringe parties, but the Liberal Democrats. The Liberal Democrats talk about influence in Europe, and quite understandably it's a priority for them, because on May 23rd they're going to end up with absolutely no MEPs, aren't they? They talk about influence. Now, hang on. We are still one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. We are still, despite George Osborne's best efforts, a leading economy. We have a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. Outside of the EU, we will be able to retake our seat at the World Trade Organization. I don't know about you, but that's quite an impressive portfolio of power, isn't it? We simply do not need to be in the European Union to trade with it. And I was on a BBC radio debate, where I was getting the usual ding-dong questions from the host. And I said, look, if countries as far away as Japan are negotiating free trade agreements with the European Union without them being members of the European Union, surely we can have that sort of arrangement, can't we? And the host said, yeah, but Japan's on the other side of the world. Well, Switzerland is right slap bang in the middle of the continent, and they're not in it, are they? That is what we get. That is what we get. But what we offer is this. We offer a free and independent country. If a country can't control its borders, if it can't keep the lights on, if it can't write its own laws, it is not an independent country, is it? We want that independent country, and it's up to us to fight for it. We see our flag on the ground, and it's up to us to pick it up. And it's up to us to get our country back. Thank you.